One is Can't Spell Treason without Treason, and this boy. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rochelle, and today we are going to talk about fall book recommendations. I have my lovely little ghost mug here. I actually did make oat milk gingerbread chai from Starbucks. I made my own version of it here, and it's really good. It's one of my favorite recipes to go and make at home, and of course it saves money. I'll include the list of ingredients I used below. I also use almond milk instead of oat milk, just because I prefer the brand that we get over any of the oat milk I've tried. Basically in this video, we're going to go over 16 book recommendations for the fall, and I kind of split them up with 8 cozy ones and then 8 not so cozy ones, just depending on what type of books you're really looking for. Some of these books I've read and some of them are on my list to read during the fall time. When I look at these books, they just scream fall for me, and fall is honestly one of my favorite times of the year. I love wearing cozy sweaters, being wrapped up in blankets, and having a nice warm cup of tea. Now, I usually have a cup of tea anyway, whether or not it's scalding hot out or if it's really cold out. I just prefer being nice and cozy, but the fall weather gives me excuse to kind of have that. So with that being said, I think what we'll do is we'll maybe start off with the cozy list of books I have, and then we'll go over to the books of not so cozy and a little bit more spooky or creepy, whichever version you'd prefer. So I hope you're as excited as me, and let's get to it. Alright, so the first one we're going to go over is Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. I'm sure you have heard of this book before. I feel like a lot of people talk about this one, and I still have not had the chance to read it. I've been planning on it, and I planned on doing it, especially during the Ren Fair season, but it just didn't happen. So with this book, it's about an orc that decides to go and retire, doesn't want to do battle anymore, and opens up a coffee shop. And I don't know what it is, but the idea of someone that's like gruff and tough that decides to just settle down and do something a little bit more cozy, a little bit more chill, like a coffee shop, just sounds like the perfect setup for the fall weather. I also personally love the idea of maybe opening up a cafe one day and having books there, as well as letting people maybe go and adopt rescue animals, whether they're cats or maybe bunnies or something. I really like the idea of doing 2 things at once, where it's helping people but also helping animals. So something about this book just screams the fall for me, screams cozy, and I definitely want to pick this one up for the fall. Then the next one is Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, and this one is by Rebecca Thorne. It's a cozy fantasy steeped with love. So I feel like this is very on theme, especially with the first book we have. I also have the version that has the beautiful blue sprayed edges. So this one is about 2 people that decide to open up a bookshop that serves tea, and then some stuff ends up going and happening. One person is kidnapped, so there's some mystery, some mishap, some murder, all those lovely things tied into this. So it definitely seems very cozy, very mystery type of thing. So yeah, I really want to read this one as well. And I mean, a bookshop and tea, like, I have tea, I have my, you know, my makeshift, I have my own bookshelves, so I think this one will definitely be one that I pick up over the fall season. Alright, and then I have Lure of the Wilds by Analeigh Sbrana, and this one has also been on my list. I've really been wanting to read it, and I feel like fall will be the perfect time to pick it up. And just a little bit about it: a library with a deadly enchantment, a Fey Lord who wants in, a human woman willing to risk it all for a taste of power. This one is very cute. It's also set up in a bookshop as well, and I mean, look at those spray edges. The mushrooms just scream fall as well, so this is another one that is on my list. Alright, and then we have The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst. I've also had this book on my TBR, I feel like for the month of August, and I just didn't get to it, unfortunately. But I really do want to read this one. I feel like it just screams whimsical fall magic, and there's nothing that I would prefer more during the fall season. And I mean, just look at how beautiful this cover is. So this one is a lush cottagecore tale full of stolen spellbooks, unexpected friendships, sweet jams, and even sweeter love. I know this one, there's some magic that only certain people are allowed to use. Apparently a talking plant too, which sounds awesome. I really do love plants. Maybe it's the fact that, like, you know, I play a druid whenever I play D&D, but yeah, I really do want to read this book as well. It just seems so cozy and very high up on my list. And then we have this cozy mystery, so it's Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Manansala. I have been so excited to read this one. So if you are not aware, I am part Filipino, and I just love Filipino dishes. I grew up eating them, and they just always remind me of home. I have not attempted to make any Filipino dishes. I'm just a little bit nervous that they're not going to taste the same like what my mom makes, but when I saw this series, I was just very nostalgic. I believe the second one is called Homicide and Halo Halo, and Halo Halo is one of my favorite Filipino desserts. It's something my mom would always make whenever I was growing up, and it was very hot outside. But anyway, this one is the first book in a new culinary cozy series full of sharp humor and delectable dishes, one of which might just involve a killer. I mean, this just sounds so cozy, and I actually have had a friend that read this and loved it so much, so I just cannot wait to devour this book, literally and figuratively, because it will probably make me very hungry. Then we have A Sprinkling of Murder, a Fairy Garden Mystery, and it's by Daryl Wood Gerber. This one is just so cute and magical. The cover kind of reminds me of the cozy mysteries that you would see in the bookstore growing up, and I love seeing that a lot of the covers of some books are still this way. But this is a fairy garden store owner, Courtney Kelly, believes in inviting magic into your life. But when uninvited trouble enters her shop, she'll need more than a sprinkling of her imagination to solve a murder. Another one of those cozy mysteries, and I think that this is just perfect for the fall season. As you can tell, a lot of the books that I have in my first pile of recommendations are very cozy, little mysteries, whimsical, nothing that's hopefully going to be scary or anything like that. So if that's your preference, this set of books is perfect for you. Then I have Crumbs by Danie Stirling. And this one is a cute graphic novel, so if you're not able to maybe go and read an actual, you know, like novel or anything like that and need something that's a little bit quicker to pick up, this graphic novel will be perfect for you. It originally was a webcomic and then they made it into a book, but it sounds so cozy with a cute little witch that no one really knows about her powers, her magic. And then the other character is an aspiring musician, and it's a cute little love story with both characters trying to follow their dreams. And I mean, what doesn't sound so perfect about that to read during the fall? Alright, and then we have The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. I actually did read this one a couple months ago, and I absolutely love this book. It was so cute, so whimsical. It also got me very emotional, but there's a grandma involved in this book, and the grandmother just reminded me so much of my own that it just made me very emotional. And my grandmother passed way over 10 years ago, so you know, it's still pretty hard because she was someone very important in my life, but this book just reminded me of her. It's so cute, so whimsical. There's also a cute sapphic romance in it, and honeybees. I mean, honeybees, honey magic, what doesn't scream fall there? And then we have The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. I also read this one a few months back, and I loved this book so much. I love the way the author wrote things, and in this story, basically the main character, her family, they kind of run this flower farm, and there's a history for the women where they're kind of known as being batty or crazy, and so a lot of people are kind of hesitant around them, and it's known to happen around a certain age, and the main character is just dreading that to happen. But then suddenly the store shows up and she's told to go and take it, and she's transported to a different time. So there's some time travel in it, there's a mystery, there's some romance. I really loved this book so much, and this author has definitely been one I have my eyes on to go and pick up some of her other books as well. And this one will wrap up the cozy recommendations. So with that being said, let's go into the darker recommendations, or the spookier recommendations. And the first one I have on the list is Belladonna. I actually do have this one on my TBR for the month of September, and I originally kind of pushed this one off. It's been on my list, but the timing just hasn't felt right. But since I'm in the Phantom of the Opera readathon, one of the things that gives us extra points is if it's gothic. With this one, it says death waits for no one except her. I've heard a lot of people really love this book and that it involves death. And honestly, I do really love books that have death as a love interest. I just always find it so intriguing. And like I said, so many people have raved about this book. I love the US covers, and I also love the UK covers for this book. So if I love this series, I might have to invest in getting the additional covers as well. So just a little snippet, it says, Belladonna brings to life a highly romantic, gothic-infused world of wealth, desire, and betrayal. This just sounds so interesting, and I can't wait to read it. Then I have The Immortal Dark by Tigest Girma, and this one recently came out for the month of September, and this one is a bit of a spoiler because I will be having this one in my book haul for the end of the month. A lost heiress, a soulless vampire, a secret drenched in blood. And I forgot to show you the edges. It says no soul can enter without an invitation. This one just sounds really interesting. I haven't exactly been in the mood for vampires lately, but I have been in the mood for something a little bit different. But yeah, this one has black vampires in it and is by a BIPOC author. So I think that sounds pretty good for what I'm looking for, with having something different and having some representation in it. All right, this one is another one that you've probably heard of before, One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I've also been putting this book off to figure out the perfect time to read it, and I feel like this one would be perfect for fall. It's gothic, it's creepy and eerie, there's some magic system in it. What doesn't sound good about this one? So I'm also adding this one onto my list for fall books. And then a really short one is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the book. I honestly prefer the movie over the book, which is a rarity for me, but I feel like Coraline just encompasses the fall season. It's very creepy. And with this one, if you're not aware, it's about a girl named Coraline. Her family goes and moves, and she ends up going through this door that brings her to this alternate world where she's kind of presented with a better life than what she currently has. But with the book, it's a little bit creepier, and the other mother is a little bit more intense and not as perfect as she seems in the movie. So if you've always wanted to read the book, I feel like it would be the perfect time to read it in the fall. And I'm probably going to reread it again because it's been a couple years since I last picked it up, and I'd love to see how my thoughts have changed for that. So it might be another one of the rereading books series videos, so just keep an eye out for it. Then we have the Invocations by Krystal Sutherland. This one is the Evernight edition, and it's so beautiful. It has these different end pages, and then the cover on this version. It is so beautiful. So this is my other edition of it. I have 2 copies of it, but with this one, it's 3 girls that don't know each other end up going and meeting up because they learn that someone is offering these people that are using these invocations specifically made by one person. So they go and seek her out. Each one of these girls has a separate reason for going and learning the truth or getting magic involved in their lives, and I think it's just perfect and dark and eerie for the fall season. So if you haven't read it yet, I think now would be the best time of year to pick it up. Then I have Where He Can't Find You by Darcy Coates. I read this one a few months ago as well, and I loved this book so much. It was very creepy, and it also has a few graphics in it. So in some of the pages, you get like little graphics giving a hint of what's going on. But this one is very creepy. It kind of reminds me of It by Stephen King, but a little bit more paranormal. And with this, it has a group of kids that are also trying to go and save their hometown, but also live long enough to escape it and get out of this awful town where nothing good happens. It is so creepy and so good. I couldn't put down this book. So if you really want to be scared, this is the perfect book to recommend to pick up for the fall fall season. And then I'm gonna also include Come Out by Natalie C. Parker. I talked about this one in my last book wrap-up, and I originally got this one as an ARC and loved it so much that I had to pick up a physical copy. This one is very creepy as well, and I think just because it kind of starts during the beginning of the school season, that's usually starts in fall, this kind of feels right to go and pick up at this time of the year. Now with this one, I will go and remind you, please check your trigger warnings for this one because it does cover some very difficult topics, but it is very creepy and scary as well. There's a lot of emotions that this book made me feel, so I wanted to include this one on my list as well. That is the list of 16 fall book recommendations that I have. A few of these books I personally want to go into knowing as little as possible, so if you wanted to know more about these books, I do have them listed below. I also do have timestamps on them, so if you don't remember what the title of a book is, you can go back and search for it and look it up yourself. But yeah, if there's any of these books that you're interested in reading, I'd love to hear it. Or if you have a different fall book recommendation that I didn't mention, please list it down in the comments below. I love fall, and I'm not necessarily a seasonal reader. I tend to read fall books in the summertime and vice versa. So I kind of read anything whenever, but when the mood fits me. So yeah, if it's a fall read and I end up picking it up in the wintertime, don't be surprised. But if you like this video, as always, please leave a like, maybe subscribe and comment, and I can't wait to hang out with you all again. I'm gonna go though because I am so toasty right now. I love you all, and please remember that you are worthy and capable of amazing things. Bye.